Okay, so welcome back. Everyone have a good holiday?
Yeah.
Did everyone have a good holiday? Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot. So we're going to go back into the holidays because we finished Rosh Hashanah and we finished Yom Kippur. And 4 days after Yom Kippur, we jumped right into a brand new holiday called Sukkot. Let's discuss it. Open your books, page 46. Let's go through it, understand it, see why it is, because we celebrate it and we do what we need to do, and we sit in a hut and we shake various agricultural produce, which actually this year I can bring in for a show and tell, actually, because I still have fresh lulav and etrog from the holidays, which will do that. Actually, I had a few, but one I actually ate, but I'll explain that to you a little bit later. Okay, so we're on page 46. Let us begin by understanding this very unusual holiday, because I don't know anything else that I like it in Judaism, or actually even any other religion, really, where we leave the safety and the comfort of our own homes, and we move into a leaky, roofed hut for 7 days. And our homes that we built and we maybe bought or rent, which are very comfortable and warm and cozy, suddenly become our temporary dwelling. And this leaky, roofed, open to the stars hut becomes our permanent residence. What is this all about? So let's have a look first of all at the Torah. We'll look at the Pesukim, we'll go through them carefully, and then I'm going to pluck out various points of pertinence and words in Hebrew you need to know. So let us begin by looking at Vayikra Chaf Gimel, Leviticus chapter 23 verses 39, and then we'll do chapter 42, and verse 42 to 43. And it says like this: B'chamisha sayom l'chodesh hashvi. It's going to be on the 15th of the 7th month, and the 7th month is Tishrei, right? Okay. The 7th month is Tishrei. On the 15th of that 7th month, we're going to do something. Something's going to happen. Ba'aspchem etvot haaretz. That time of year, around the 15th of the month of Tishrei, is a time of year when we are gathering. All this is very important. We're going to get these are various pieces of a puzzle. We're going to link all these pieces together. We are going to be gathering in all our produce. I don't know what produce is talking about. I don't know from where. Where am I gathering it into? We're going to get to that as well. At that time, however, tachogu et Chag Hashem. You're going to celebrate a Chag. There's going to be a Chag, a celebration. Okay? There's going to be a festival. How long does this festival last? Says the Torah. 7 days. It's going to take you 1 week. You've got to go through this experience for 7 days. It's going to be a 7-day experience. By Yom HaRishon, the first day of it, Shabbaton is going to be a Shabbaton. Now that is a code word for it's a holiday. You are prevented from performing malacha. It is not Shabbat Shabbaton, because only Shabbat itself and Yom Kippur are called Shabbat Shabbaton, and those are the only 2 days that we can do absolutely no malacha. However, when you see the word Shabbaton, you know, I cannot do some malacha, and I can do other malacha. What malacha can we do? Says the Torah, Ochel Nefesh. Things involved in cooking and preparing. So there's a 7-day holiday, but on the first day of the holiday, it's going to be a Shabbaton. That doesn't mean you're going to go to NCSY and hang out with all your friends and eat kugel and Laffy Taffies. You can do that if you want to. The Shabbaton over here means there's going to be an element of holiday to it. Okay, that's the expression Shabbaton. Okay? A prevention of malacha. Not anything involved with food preparation. Ochel nefesh can do. That's why you can cook on Rosh Hashanah, and you can cook on Sukkot. That didn't go well. You can cook on Sukkot. Right? So we see you can do that as well on this day. Uvayom Hashmini, and then it says, and by the way, there's going to be another holiday which seemingly, just from the verse we just read, look at the verse themselves, is not anything to do with the first 7 directly. It seems to be its own day. Uvayom Hashmini, it's not an 8-day holiday, it's a 7-day holiday. And then, by the way, you should know something, I'm going to get there. This is going to be after we finish Sukkot. There's going to be another holiday which is all about Yom HaShmini, the 8th day. The 8th day. Not the band that plays in supermarkets in Brooklyn. That came after the Torah's understanding of an 8th-day holiday. So what do we have so far? Quite a lot of information, actually. I mean, a lot of it has to be explained and understood. I'm going to try to do that. But just on the basic, let's just kind of open our heads and get the basic level.
So there's 2 Shabbatons?
There seems to be 2 Shabbatons, yeah. There's 2 separate holidays happening over here. That's the way it happens. I would have said it's an 8-day holiday. It doesn't say it. It says it's 7 days. And then it connects it, but says it's a different holiday, which is the 8th day. We're going to get that. That's what it's going to be, right? But it's kind of like, it's connected to it, but it's not it. That's the way to understand it. Okay, that's going to be Shmini Atzeret. So the first 7 days, 50th of Tishrei. And it speaks, says, by the way, this time was chosen for this holiday. We're going to see this holiday of Sukkot could actually appear any time in the year. Pesach could only appear that time of the year. And Rosh Hashanah, oh, that's different. Shavuot could only appear that time of year. Sukkot, when we look at the reasons for it, could appear any time in the Jewish calendar. However, it was chosen at a time to connect it to something happening agriculturally. What's happening agriculturally? Are there no produce? No. It's the time of year at the end of the summer, before the winter gets in, right? It's the fall time, when people start to gather in all their produce. Why are they gathering in? Because we're moving into winter. And in winter, we want to get all of our produce into the house. So it's had a chance to ripen over the summer, it's been picked, and now we're gathering in. So there's a gathering in aspect that's connected. That's here as well. It's a chag. How do we know? It says Shabbaton. Shabbaton is a key word. And it's going to be 7 days. Okay? And then, this is not mentioned over here, it's mentioned elsewhere, but the Ochel Nefesh is a part of it. And then it says, oh, by the way, there's going to be an 8th day. It doesn't tell me anything about the 8th day. I don't know what that's going to be. It just says there's an 8th day happening over here.
What's Ochel Nefesh?
That's what you're permitted to do in Jewish holidays.
So that's the Shabbat.
That's Shabbat, right? You're allowed to cook. You cannot do Yom Kippur or Shabbat, but you can on Jewish holidays. So we know it's a level, not the level of Shabbat, Yom Kippur, right? You can do certain things. Certain malachot are restricted during this time. Are non-restricted during this time. Okay, let's keep going. So what am I doing these 7 days? Well, I'm just hanging out. Or am I reading Torah? Am I hanging out with friends? I'm going to the park. What are we doing over here? So the Torah says, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Besucho teshvu. You're going to sit in a sukkah. You're going to sit in a sukkah. Okay. I don't know what that is yet. It sounds good. As soon as I find out what it is. And you're going to sit in it. So we're going to assume it's a kind of structure that people sit in, right? Kol Ezrach Yisrael, every native in Israel is going to live in a sukkah. Yeshu b'sukkot. Why? The Torah is going to give us the reason. Leman yedu, because you need to know something. Some information which you need to know, and that information is going to be gathered to your mind by you sitting in this item, this sukkah. Doroteichem, ki basucho toshafti et bnei Yisrael, because I, says Hashem, resided the Jewish people. I placed the Jewish people in Sukkot. In Sukkot. Botsiotam meres Mitzrayim. When I took them out of Egypt, Ani Hashem Elokeichem. And by the way, I'm the Lord your God. What's up with that? Yes.
What do you mean when you said, when we do this, we bring holy gathers from our house?
So there's something we need to know, says the Torah. Laman yedu. There's some information that is being passed on There's a reason. It's not just like a fun thing to do. There's something important you need to know by sitting in the sukkah. You don't just sit there and sit. There's something you need to know by sitting there, which we're going to see. That your generations know that Hashem put us into Sukkot when we left Egypt. What are they? What were these Sukkot? Well, Hashem protected us when we lived in our tents. We lived in tents when we were in the Midbar. So for 40 years, we're going to see, the Jewish people lived in tents because we were traveling, we were nomadic during the time. We're not a nomadic people, as many of the textbooks describe us. However, Hashem kept us moving and kept us moving in tents. Just by the way, the idea of tents didn't just start over here, okay? The Jewish people lived in tents. I mean, not that we were in tents, but we were in tents before this time. Right, Abraham lived in tents. Yitzchak, Yaakov lived in tents. But Abraham's the famous one. He had a tent. And he lived in this tent.
What the Omel though?
The Omel was a portable tabernacle that came with us during this time. That also had to be a temporary structure until it became a permanent one in Israel. Yeah?
Wasn't Abraham's time the most noteworthy, if you will, because it had like 4 openings?
It was noteworthy. It did have 4 openings.
Right.
Why did it have 4 openings?
So everybody could come.
That's right. So anyone could come into the tent. Last night I performed a wedding of a student of mine, and we stood under a chuppah that's also open on all 4 sides. We learn out the chuppah from the home of Avraham Avinu, actually. That is open on all 4 sides.
Doesn't that prove that the Jews have always been a nomadic people? Because I feel like the whole, like...
The idea of a nomadic people, it doesn't actually. It doesn't. It's very interesting. The idea of a nomadic, I'll mention because it is very relevant. You read many texts that say the Jews are nomadic. Okay, we want to keep traveling. That's not who we are. Nomadic people move because they have agricultural opportunities or financial opportunities. That is not the reason the Jewish people move. We would rather not move. We'd rather stay in one place. Happens to be that when we stay in one place, something happens to us. That we'll come to a little bit later. But we know that when we move, what we see from Avraham Avinu, let's look at him, because he's the archetypal mover. Actually, they were moving beforehand, right? Cain became a mover. Noach was a mover. Adam Rishon moved out Gan Eden. The idea of movement is very central to who we are as a people. Why was Avraham Avinu moving? Could Avraham Avinu afford a house? Were there houses in those days? Yeah, of course there were. People put rudimentary rocks upon other rocks. He was wealthy enough to have some kind of structure to stay in one place. Why did Avraham Avinu move? Why did Hashem tell him to move? Actually, he decided to spread Judaism, that's right. He wanted to spread the Judaism, and he realized if you stay in one place, you can only affect the people around you. This is really a microcosm for all of Jewish history. Right? Masa avosim lebanim. Right? The actions of our fathers is a sign for their children. So too, the Jewish people have been moving through history. So Avraham Avinu had to take his tent, and he had to, him and his wife's tent, they had to pitch it in various places in order to attract the local population, to teach the local population of those places. Let's keep active and moving. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. We're going to get to this, though. We're going to get to this. Right? But this isn't the first time we've seen Jews living in tents. There's no doubt about that. But now we're told to celebrate it. We're told to make a whole holiday just based upon the fact that Jewish people were in tents. Or we'll see another opinion. Okay, that's what we have so far. So there's some information in Leman Yedu. The Jewish people should know. There's an element of das that goes into it. There's a knowledge. There's some information. It's not just for nomadic reasons. Nomadic reasons mean we're traveling because we need something. We're not getting where we are. It's like, no. You've got to sit in your tent and you've got to move, taking a journey out of your house and into this structure because there's something you need to know. There's not some agricultural purpose or some weather-related purpose you're doing it. You do it because you've got to remember something that happened. Let's have a look at the Shulchan Aruch. Note, the second note, 1 page 46. What is this 7 days of dwelling? Ketzad mitzvah yeshiva b'sukkah. Why do we actually fulfill this mitzvah of sukkah? Shea ochal v'shota, that we eat and we drink, v'yashen, and we sleep, although some people The Lubavitch Hasidim have the custom not to sleep in the sukkah. But eating and drinking, we accept we do. Umatayel, and to hang out there. V'dar b'sukkah, and you're going to live in the sukkah. Kol shvat hayamim, bein b'yom b'malayla, night and day. Kederach shu darei, so just like you live in your house, you're not going to live in your sukkah. B'shayimos hashana, you live in your house the rest of the year, you can live in the sukkah now. The kosher tiyamim osel damet beito arai, and the entire year you make your house, the entire year you make your house keva, fixed, okay? And everything else says, no. Now your house becomes a transitory experience. Arai, it's temporary, and your house becomes temporary, and your sukkah becomes your keva, your permanent. It switches over. There's a switch. Usually your house is keva and outside booths are temporary. We're like, no. Now your house becomes temporary to you. You're going to hang out, you're going to read, you're going to drink, you're going to eat, you're going to sleep. And your sukkah becomes permanent. Right? Your sukkah becomes permanent. Okay, very interesting. So what exactly, when we talk about sukkah, what are we talking about? Once again, just get through this. What are we talking about? So, first of all, we're not talking about the walls. The walls are not really what fulfill the mitzvah of sukkah. They help fulfill it, because walls are what hold a roof. But actually, the sukkah walls can be made of anything, pretty much, you want to be made of. Anything that will not be blown away by the wind. Okay, it can't be made of paper, right? It's got to be made of something, okay, which is stationary and holds things that won't be pushed by animals or something else that could just like blow them away. So, anything is fine for a dofen, anything is fine for the walls of a sukkah. You can have wood, you can use nowadays plastic or metal, or you may have seen it, some people actually build a sukkah in their homes. How do they do that? They cut a piece of the roof out, right? And that is an open space. And the walls are the walls that they have around them. So the walls aren't really what we're talking about. This whole thing of sukkah is all about the roof. It's all about the roof people. The roof people. Okay? So, what is the,
What do you mean if you have your house? That's the whole idea that it's not like.
right, so it's saying, so you may be in your house, but the Mishnah in Sukkah tells us that if there is a hole in your roof and the rain can come in and there's nothing interfering, another layer of a house at all, then actually you may think you're indoors, but luckily in Sukkot you're actually outdoors. It's all about the roof, and the roof should lead to an open outside right to the heavens.
You know some houses have like a room where like you press a button and
That's what I'm talking about, exactly.
Can you just, and it's inside the house, can you just...
That is considered to be outside. Because we're defining what the sukkah is. We're saying this thing we're talking about is going to be a roof-based thing. It's a roof-based thing. The roof is what we're talking about. You need to have a minimum amount of walls. Anyone know how many walls sukkah can be? The answer's on the board. Very good, Whitney. 4 walls, like a samach. 3 walls, like a chaf. Or 2 walls and a little bit. Right? That's actually the 3 forms of sukkah. You can have 4 walls, you can have 3 walls, 1, 2, 3. You can have 2 walls and a tefach and a bit. Okay? That's the minimum amount of walls you have in order to consider the structure. But the roof, now that we have to talk about. Because we're going to see that the roof is really what it's all about. So if a person were to build such a structure, or says the Mishnah, a person nowadays is so fancy, but let's say a person lived in a house and their roof caved in, which in olden times happened regularly, put what you need to on top. We'll see what goes on top in a few minutes. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. But you're going to cover the roof, you got yourself a sukkah.
Gotta be totally fine.
Yeah. I mean, there's rules how far there is distance from the edge of the opening to the wall itself, right? But leaving all that aside, those details, we'll get to those details later on.
Isn't the whole idea that you're dying?
Very good. The whole idea, right, is that you remember something that happened to the Jewish people. They lived in Sukkot. We'll see two interpretations of what the word actually means in a moment, so hold on. And that the roof has to be open, allowing sunlight, and able to allow in rain. And we're going to see it's made from natural produce, and the roof has to be open to the elements. That's what we're going to say. Says the Shulchan Aruch, Davar shemesachin bo, the roof must be made of something, she'etzo mechmenaris, which is grown from the earth, v'tolush, and disconnected. It's got to be, so the roof is what we're talking about. Okay? We have the walls are important, but the roof is the mitzvah part of it. It's got to be, so the roof, which is the schach. The roof has to be made of earth-grown produce. Anything from the earth seemingly will suffice, and has to be talush. It has to be cut off. Let's do the Hebrew words, if you don't mind. Has to be gedulei karka, from the earth, and has to be talush, has to be disconnected. How can something from the earth not be disconnected and still be a roof? How can you have something that comes from the ground? Right, like a tree, right? Or maybe you take a vine, right? Or a plant, and it's very, very tall, and you kind of like bend it over, and there it's resting as your roof. And no, you can't do that. It's got to be gedulei karka, earth-grown items, but it's got to be talush. It has to be disconnected as well from the ground. If it's not, you ain't sitting in a sukkah. Why these elements are important, we're going to come to. Let's just look at what we have to do, and we'll figure out why we're doing it. Yeah.
But what I think I learned, maybe I'm wrong, but if the tree is part of your wall, you can use the tree as your
As a wall, absolutely. The Mishnah says that. If you have walls over here, but if the branches come over, you cannot make the schach out of branches. You'd have to cut them before Sukkot and let them rest down. Absolutely. So the walls, you make whatever you want. Made of trees. If you want to set up, you have trees in a row, and you have trees over here, and you got to maybe another few trees over here, and you cover it, no problem. It's all about the roof. Okay? There's something else about the roof. Something else about the roof, which most people are not aware of, but it's a very important halacha. And that is, it cannot be makabel tuma. It cannot be makabel tuma. What does that mean? It cannot be a made item for a functional, specific use. For example, it can be something which accepts impurity, which is a technical word for saying you can have an item that was made for a specific use, cannot be used as schach. Well, what's that? What's an example of something that's makabel tuma, right, that accepts impurity? Have to be a used item. So let me ask you like this. Could I use cotton plants as schach? If I live somewhere in America or Israel, right? Yeah, it's an earth-grown item. I cut it off and I put it on top. I'm not going to take the cotton. I'm not going to add anything to it, and I'm going to make it into a cotton T-shirt, right? 100% cotton. Can I take T-shirts and then spread them out on top? I can't. Why? Because it's been made into a kli, made into a vessel, made into an item, and that you cannot do. If you were to take wood that was cut and prepared, but not for any specific reason, just for, and you, that would work. Right? But if it was made into something, to an item, right? This is a loose definition of it, that would be problematic, then it's makabel tuma. Yeah. So, those mats are just fun. They could be made for schach, which is okay. They could be made for no reason. You just make them. You can use for any reason you want, but they're made into that. That'll be okay as well. That'll be okay as well. That's what I use. That would be fine. Bamboo would be fine for that. Yeah. I mean, 1,000 examples. I don't know, wooden toys. Right? It's wood. It's natural. Is it gedulei karka? Yeah. Is it talush? Cut off the ground? Yeah. It's not attached to the tree anymore, but it's made into an item. So such an item, I think, would be a problem to like lay on top of your and use that. We don't know why yet, but these are very important. There's something about this roof thing. It's got to have these elements to it. Okay, I know we're throwing a lot in here, but we're going to put this all together, make a nice, neat package that we can use. Yeah.
So those like bamboo sheets, like let's say like throughout the year you use them as like in a chitza or something, you can't use that for Sukkot?
That's a very good question. That could be problematic. That could be problematic if you use it for something else and then you use it as schach. I hear it's a good question. I'm not sure. It could be problematic. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, what does this Sukkah thing come to commemorate? What's it for? Why are we living in a hut for 7 days? And why this time of year? I mean, there's a lot of pieces we have to put together. So turn to page 47, please follow inside. Computers, please only open to blank pages. B'Sukkot teishvu shivet yamim. We already said that for 7 days you should live in a sukkah. Kol Ezrach Yisrael, all the Jewish people, yeshu b'Sukkot l'man yed dorateichem, that you should know that you lived in sukkahs when you left Mitzrayim. So we know there's an Egypt aspect to this as well, okay? And there's something that connects to it and leaving Mitzrayim. Okay. We're going to see two opinions. We're going to see two opinions as to what the word Sukkot is actually referring to when we use it in relation to the holiday. And we're going to look at the words of Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva in the Gemara. Tanya, it says in the Gemara, in Tractate Sukkah, Ki b'Sukkot Hashavtim Yisrael. What does that mean? I put the Jewish people in Sukkot. Says Rabbi Eliezer, opinion number one. And you can go with either of these, by the way. What are the Sukkot the Jewish people lived in? No. According to Rabbi Eliezer, Anane HaKavod. Anane HaKavod. You see, the Sukkah the Jewish people lived in, that God put us in, were actually the clouds of glory. Will someone tell me what the clouds of glory were? What are these Anane HaKavod? That according to Rabbi Eliezer is the entire reason we keep Sukkot. Right, is Rabbi Eliezer. What are these clouds of glory? Anybody know? We're playing tennis, me and you today. It's like a new person. Yes?
They're the clouds that protected us in the desert.
That's right. We were protected by clouds. Hashem protected the Jewish people with these clouds that surrounded us and protected us. How many were there? 7, I believe. Right? We were like trapped in a box, and there was one in front of us. Okay? To clear out the earth and to move forward through it. So there were clouds that protected the Jewish people. We're traveling through the Midbar, through the desert for 40 years. And while we were there, we had clouds there, actually there, if you want to look at a box, and one in front the entire time. And at night time they were replaced by a fire that came to lead the way. And so we were protected by these clouds. These clouds, therefore, were miraculous. You don't naturally be surrounded by protective clouds, whatever they were. But whatever they were miraculous, and they were with us the entire time we were in the Midbar. Okay, let's just zoom in for it. Let's just double click on this one piece right now. If that's the reason for Sukkot, right, which means Rabbi Eliezer it is. We'll see Rabbi Akiva has another opinion, but even his opinion is going to lead to the next question I'm about to ask. If we double click on this, what has this got to do with any particular time of year? What is this? According to Rabbi Eliezer, you know why you live in Sukkot? The Torah says live in Sukkot. Rabbi Eliezer says, I'll tell you why. Because when we were in the desert for 40 years, right, for 365 days a year, we were surrounded by these clouds. These clouds were fantastic. They protected us from the rain. They protected us from the heat. They were just amazing. They would, according to the Midrash, they would clean our clothes for us. They would prepare to keep us fresh. Right? Amazing clouds. They were just miraculous. We lived a miraculous existence, and this was the reason. These are Kavod. Hashem protected us, and that's why He sent a Sukkah. So whatever these clouds were, we'll just put aside for a second. I want to just figure out, what has these clouds got to do with this time of year, 15th of Tishrei?
Like, why don't we celebrate Sukkot another time?
Yeah! Could we celebrate this miracle of the clouds any time during the year? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Pick any time. So that's something we've got to figure out. If that's this is the reason. Are you with me? This is the reason for Sukkot. We're looking at the reason. According to Eliezer anyway. This is the reason why he keeps Sukkot It's because we had amazing clouds, they protected us. You know what? Go live in a hut. Okay, I'm not really seeing the connection, but we'll leave that aside. But why this time of year? Anyone like to hazard a guess at the answer to that question? There's going to be a number of answers to this question, by the way, which we're going to learn and put in your finals for you. All right? There's going to be a number of answers. Some of them are actually just logistical. And some of them are going to be connected to the time of year, to where we are. Yes?
But isn't the answer that the clouds left, like Hashem took them away and this?
That is mentioned. There is some arrival around this time, but that is true. But they were with us the entire time. So we could be celebrating their arrival, but they were with us the entire year. We could actually still celebrate at any time of the year. So what's happening weather-wise?
Yeah, is it raining?
What's the weather like now?
Raining.
Is it raining?
It was yesterday?
Was it raining all day yesterday?
No, it rained.
What was it like in the morning?
Sunny.
Beautiful, right? Actually, the weather in America actually doesn't really count. What's the weather like in Israel right now? Hot?
No.
Cold? Well, which one is it?
Right now it's pretty cold.
Sort of cold, right?
Yeah.
This is very important. This is very important. It's neither, or it's both. Nachon? Is it the summer? No. Is it the winter? No. Where are we? We're in between. We're in between. This is a gift from Hashem that says, you know what? I won't make you do this mitzvah in the winter. You'll freeze. You know? And the spring is also, that's not what we're about over here, because then it's too easy, right? And it can't be the summer, because summer's too hot. And if you sit in a cabana in the summer, what might a person think? You're on vacation! Right? It's not nikar, say Chazal. It's not recognizable. So there's a logistical reason why Hashem specifically told us to celebrate this holiday at this time of year, because it's recognizable. Not too hot, not too cold. It's kind of like in between. It's unpredictable, well put. Right? It's unpredictable. Right? And it's definitely not the extremes, unless you're in Toronto, right, where you could be suffering from snow at this time of year, especially when Sukkot is pushed off late in the year. But in Eretz Yisrael, there's no snow this time of year. Baruch Hashem. Okay, that's one answer. Any other, we're going to do this in more detail, but just so we're thinking right now, why else do you think we're celebrating whatever this thing is right now? What happens 4 days before? Well, actually 5 days, the 10th of Tishrei. We had Yom Kippur. It's got to be connected, right? I mean, somehow. We go from Yom Kippur into Sukkot. Wouldn't it be better, Hashem, spread it out for us a little bit? I just got over Rosh Hashanah. I just got over Yom Kippur. Give me another few months, and I'll start building my Sukkah. Well, so weather-wise, it wouldn't work out. But still, because it's to be too cold, but right afterwards, there's got to be a connection, no? It's got to be. How can it not be connected? How can Yom Kippur not be connected somehow to Sukkot 5 days after it? So time of year is important. And Yom Kippur just finished. It's got to be connected. It wasn't just to help, the Stern students take one nice, neat break and then go off and then come back again, right? Or frustrate the NYU students who are like, my goodness, I took 2 days off for Rosh Hashanah, took a day off for Yom Kippur, and now I'm going to take off Sukkot. I get this asked a lot. Could you write a letter to my professor saying that Sukkot is a real holiday that I have to take 2 days off for? I do that every year for people, right? Students of mine who go to NYU. Okay? It can't just be coincidence. It can't be. Okay, there's a couple of reasons. We're going to see there's more reasons as well. One of them, by the way, we actually mentioned already, which is this. The Tifid of Tishrei is gathering your produce. We're going to throw that in as a third reason. We have 3 reasons. We have to go into them in more detail that we looked at just now as to why this time of year. Okay, so we double collect. We're going to pull back out again. So one opinion is Rabbi Eliezer, and he's going with the answer of clouds of glory. Says Rabbi Akiva, nah, it ain't that. It isn't that. Says Rabbi Akiva, the reason Hashem told us to sit in Sukkot is to remember something else. Because remember, we're informing ourselves, right? L'man yedu. What's that? Well, it's very simple.
Yeah.
We lived in huts for 40 years. We lived in huts. You have to remember that. You got to remember that the Jewish people lived in huts. So you live in a hut. Okay. I mean, it does explain why it has to have this, like, psolet, this leafy top to it. Doesn't explain that, but I kind of hear that. Just for my own entertainment, because I don't have a social life anymore. You know, married, 5 kids, you know, work and stuff. Just look at the verses themselves. Just for a second, just do it for me. Look at the Pesukim. Just, everyone, stop what you're doing. Look at the Pesukim. Stop writing. Just from the shut of the Pasuk, but look at the verse, even the English. Which one of these two answers, Rabbi Eliezer, Ananei Kavod, Rabbi Kiva, Sukkot, referring to the hunt, which one of these two do you think the Pashut, the most basic understanding of the verse, lends itself to? Just have a look at both for just a minute. Yes, you are. Just look at them for a second. What do you think? Okay, well, let's take a vote. How many there's? I don't know, 50 people there, whatever. Put your hands up if you are with Rabbi Eliezer and you think that the basic reading of the Pesukim lend towards these clouds. Put your hands up. From the basic reading of the Pesukim, put your hands up if you go with Rabbi Akiva. We're talking about booths. Okay, some people had the hands up for neither. Are you like, you don't see either of them, or you see both of them? What?
Both.
You see both?
I mean, like, and more.
Okay, so it seemed pretty clear that most of you did not see Rabbi Eliezer. You did see Rabbi Akiva. That seems to be the basic understanding of it. Yeah? You don't understand the question? Good. Thanks for saying that. I appreciate it very much. Just looking at the verse themselves. During the 7 days you shall live in booths. Every native should live in a such thatched hut. This is so that the future generations will know that I caused Jewish people to live in booths when I brought them out of Egypt. Even in the English, would you say that's more of a Rabbi Eliezer reason, clouds of glory? Or would you see as Rabbi Akiva reason, lived in huts? In other words, they're giving pshat in those verses. They're looking at those words and they're like, oh, I get it. This is the reason. Akiva said, that's the reason for it? Rabbi Eliezer said, no, that's the reason for it. That means they're seeing either living in huts in the verse or they're seeing clouds of glory. Which one do you see? From a basic reading, just read the verses. It's Rabbi Akiva. Right? I mean, seemingly. As you see in America, it looks like Rabbi Eliezer is coming out of left field. Literally out of the field. Carrying a lulav. Yeah.
Did Rabbi Akiva say his idea first, and then Rabbi Eliezer just kind of was like, no, I think it's the cloud.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But they weren't arguing for the sake of arguing. They are giving, the Gemara is telling us what they saw in these words. And we're going to see it's going to be important. From these two ideas, obviously, what I'm getting to, there's going to be an entire narrative that's going to come out of these two ideas, which are going to be very different. They may overlap. And we're going to end up doing the same thing. So it's academic. Everyone live in the same sukkah, right? Rabbi Akiva in the same sukkah that Rabbi Eliezer did. But they sat down in their respective sukkot, and they were like, completely different reasons. I'm all about the clouds. Rabbi Akiva was like, no, I'm all about the booths. There's got to be some. There's got to be some underlying underpinning which lets us to that. Yeah.
And that was the pshat. How do you know that was pshat not Rabbi Eliezer?
It could be. It could be, but that's what he said. He said that's the well, according to him, that's the reason. That's the reason you sit in a sukkah is because of the clouds of glory. And we're going to see that Rashi agrees with him.
Oh.
Which is extraordinary. You know, it's just, I find it very strange personally. But we're going to see the sources. Rabbi Levi was a great man. He was saying greater than anyone alive today. So he obviously had his reasons. Let's try to figure out both of them. So what we're going to do right now then is we're going to go through both of these. Well, we're going to start with Rabbi Akiva because Rabbi Akiva's opinion seems to be the basic understanding of it. Okay, so we're going to see what comes out. Let's just double click on Rabbi Akiva for a couple of minutes. Let's see what he's talking about, and then we'll go to the clouds as well.
I think it's very obvious what Rabbi Akiva's talking about.
Is it?
Yeah.
Should I say something?
Wait a second. Is it really? Seriously, is it really obvious?
It's in the words.
Once again, it is in the words, but the way we do it is very, very different. In other words, so they lived in sukkahs for 40 years. They live in these tents. So I should live in a booth for 7 days. I should remember that by doing that. Why? Why can't I just talk? Why I have to live in this thing for 7 days in order to capture that? There's got to be something else over
It's
here.
like Yisker. It's kind of like commemoration.
It is a commemoration, but it's also a recreation. You're recreating what they did.
It's not
According to Rabbi Akiva, that's what. According to Rabbi, they're both going to have their reasons why they did it. The Mefarshim will try to figure out why. Okay, let's go inside. Let's just dig in a little bit more. We've done more questions and answers, but that's good. Questions are better. Sometimes, by the way, actually not sometimes, always the questions are better than the answers. Okay, so we have better questions and answers, but let's look at some potential answers. So the basic word Sukkot appears in the Torah elsewhere. Right? How does Rashi know what a word means? How does anyone know what a word means? How does the Ramban? They find that word elsewhere in the Torah, and they look at it in context. Did that word appear, Sukkot, appear anywhere else in the Torah? Yeah, it did. Right, let's have a look. We'll look at Yaakov built tent booths. Why? They flip over the page. Very good. The Yaakov Nasa Sukkota. He went to a place called Sukkot. V'yivan lo bayit, and he built himself a house. V'lekimeneu, and for his animals, for his livestock, asa Sukkot. He built a sukkah. Wow, it's unusual. You see, Yaakov built a house for himself. For his animals, for his livestock. By the way, what does livestock represent? It's going to be very important. There's a lot throwing in over here. You're going to stay with me. What does livestock represent in the Torah? Nope. I mean, it does in certain points. When you have certain sheep would leave, they would go after it. But physically, when you had lots of livestock, what did you have? A big farm?
A lot of money.
You had a lot of money. You were rich. You were rich. Nachon? Right? Avram Avinu was very rich. How do we know? It doesn't say he had sacks of gold sitting in the bank or in his house. He had lots of mikneh, lots of livestock. So, 1 minute. It says like this. You know Yaakov? He had a lot of money. He lost it, by the way. Right? It actually got taken away from him. Eliphaz. Right? It got taken away from him. He lost it all. But when he had it, he was loaded. He had so much money. Okay? It eventually got taken away. He had to go with the loved ones, get it back. But he had loads of it. And you know what happened? He took all this livestock, all of his money, all of his wealth, and he put it into Sukkot. And he put it into a sukkah. So the word sukkah, as it appears in the Torah by Yaakov, refers to a hut. Okay? So far, it's looking good for beep 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 Rabbi Akiva. Okay? Lives in a hut. But there's another piece of information I just got out of this sukkah explanation. That is, he was rich. He used the sukkah as his bank. Right? As his bank. Can't be coincidence. Right? He put Yaakov, put his livestock inside. That's going to be relevant to this whole discussion. The Torah says it must say for a reason. Okay? You want to give an answer to it?
I don't want to I mean, Yaakov put his livestock in the sukkah so Hashem could protect it. Sort of like Hashem protected.
Could have built a house for his livestock.
But maybe because the sukkah had like a spiritual meaning, something that Hashem.
It's going to have another. It's going to have another meaning.
It
Yeah.
says shelter.
It's going to have some other meaning as well. Yes. Okay. I don't think I'm going to get to the answer to this question today, by the way, but hopefully next class. So just hold that question. We're doing a lot today, right? Are you with me still? Okay. I'm going piece by piece. I'm not jumping ahead. I know some class here at Stern, people just complain to me, people just run through a lot of stuff. I was going to go piece by piece by piece by piece. Right? We're going to put all the pieces together. So we just did two things. We found the word sukkah mentioned earlier in the Torah, and it refers to a booth, which lends credence to Rabbi Akiva's understanding. But that sukkah, interestingly enough, wasn't just a word. It appeared as a place where a wealthy person, Yaakov, kept his livestock, his money. And he put it in a sukkah. Just like, off you go. I'm going to stick you in a sukkah. Okay. It's just interesting.
Isn't that the Rabbi Eliezer's point?
Why?
Because I would think that money or wealth equals glory, equals kind of like, using kind of like a kavanah almost. Like he's very respectful about like putting on his money and wealth like in a place that's holy.
It doesn't say what's holy, by the way. It says, what's a sukkah? What's a sukkah? Yeah, but what is it? It's not. It's a right. But which type? There's two types of shelters. There is bayit,
Temporary.
and it's temporary. Aha. That's going to be the connecting factor. It's temporary. He put his wealth into a pop-up bank, into a temporary bank.
So why does it say sukkah permanent?
Sukkah, no. Over here we said on Sukkot, it becomes this house becomes we make it into your permanent house, but it is a temporary house that you happen to make into your permanent house. There's a lot swirling around over here.
Sorry.
Okay, it's good. We didn't make it, but really it's a temporary dwelling. We're going to make it into a permanent dwelling. Yeah.
He said that he went to a place called Sukkot,
Yes, the location we call Sukkot as well.
which also means hut.
Yes. Okay, hold on. Bear with me, okay? There's a method to my madness. I'm just saying what the Psukim say. Don't shoot the messenger. No, seriously, don't shoot the messenger. Okay, let's understand something. Let's just explain it now. Says the Rabbeinu Bachaya, let me explain to you what's going on over here. Okay? Let's go with, we're now going into we're going to try to enter the mind of Rabbi Akiva, who said it's actual booths. Okay? Das Omer Sukkot Mamish Asulahem. According to the opinion that the word Sukkot refers to actual booths that the Jewish people lived in for 40 years, which is Rabbi Akiva's opinion. He doesn't say that, but we know that. Right? He dipped into the Gemara and pulled it out from there. Mipnei zeh, because of this, page 48, Nitztavinu la'asot Sukkot. We were told to make a sukkah. Why? Dugmatan. Right? As a dugma, as a Kedei, in order, Shet Gale, that you reveal, V'yit parsem, and you publicize, Mitoch mitzvah hasukot, through the mitzvah of Sukkot, Malatan shel Yisrael, the praiseworthiness of the Jewish people. This is what Rabbi Akiva is thinking, according to Rabbeinu Bachaya. This is what's really going on. When you sit in your sukkah, you're revealing something and you're publicizing something. What's that? How amazing the Jewish people were, how amazing they were. B'midbar, in the desert, shiu holchim, im koven Hashim, traveling with tons of people, v'anashim, men, ha'anashim, v'anashim, and women, v'taf, and babies. B'makom, in a place, in a place where people do not naturally live and do well in. Deserts. Deserts are rarely used for permanent dwelling. They are not good places to live in. Right? They are harsh environments. They're too hot by day. They're too cold by night. They don't have much natural produce for you to pick and to eat from. Right? Deserts are not great places for people to go and live. Right? Look in Israel today, Negev. Not too much people residing. The majority of the Jewish people live in Israel, live in a small area, which is non-desert-like. Okay? And even in that place, Hashem said, I prepared for them all their needs, and they lack nothing. Okay, so what just happened? What just happened? My mind just exploded. Rabbeinu Bachaya is saying, this is what Rabbi Akiva is saying. It's not the booths that we're really interested in, what we're interested in, is that the Jewish people left Egypt, which, although it was not a pleasant experience, still had shelter and food and home. They lived in actual homes in Egypt. But they were willing to leave that, willing to follow Moshe Rabbeinu into a place that was Lonatuya, which wasn't cultivated. There was a harsh environment. Not all of them left. 20% left. And were willing to live in this harsh, unfriendly, uncultivated environment. And by doing so, they were showing
There you go.
their
Love.
love, but their
Emunah.
emunah. What's emunah? Their faith in God. So by doing so, they were showing their faith. Because they lived in nice houses, and Hashem said, you know what? Follow me into a desert. Something amazing is going to happen. But you know what? You're taking a chance. Because the Eretz Lo Zerua. It's an uncultivated, unseeded place. Hot and cold and scary. And they followed me. And you know what I did? I took care of them. And I protected your ancestors. And I protected your great-great-grandmother. And I protected your great-great-grandfather. And your uncle and I protected them all. And they were totally fine. You showed great faith by doing that, which is impressive. And now we can show gratitude. Right? Thanks. Right? Thank you. That's very nice of you, Hashem. I appreciate you taking care of us. You could have dragged us out and killed us, right? It's not Hashem. It could have happened. So what happened? Hashem took us out. So immediately, just from the words that I did of Rabbi Akiva, this hut thing, we're seeing that they were willing to live in a hut, in a harsh environment. So immediately you see that faith, or emunah, is going to come from this. And ergo, what else comes from this? Gratitude. Hashem took care of us. That's what we're doing. Yeah. So I'm thankful. Thanks. Thank you very much. Nachon? I mean, nothing crazy. I'm just giving the basic understanding. Hashem took us out. He protected us. Thank you very much, Hashem. Hashem's like, oh, you show great faith by leaving. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of you. Now, already you should start to see a little bit of Rabbi Eliezer. What's he focusing on? We see what Rabbi Akiva's focusing on. What's Rabbi Eliezer focusing on over here? Which is, we're going to assume, different from Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva seems to be focusing on the faith aspect of the Jewish people. Nachon? Right? You were faithful, you left. Hashem said, oh, I'm going to take care, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to give you the man. Right? I'm going to look after you. You're going to have all your needs going to be taken care of. Rabbi Eliezer's like, no, this isn't so much a lived in huts thing. It's a cloud thing. What's that? What? No, that's us. The Emunah part seems to be run by Rabbi Akiva. I mean, it's going to overlap.
You're thankful.
They're both going to lead in Emunah. But as for how we're getting there, maybe two different ways. It could be. This is, we left Mitzrayim. Oh, I got great faith in Hashem. I'm going to leave the comfort. You know, it wasn't so nice, but I got my 3 square meals a day. And I'm going to leave that and go to a place where there's no food. I'm showing great faith in Hashem. I'm going to be grateful. We're going to see that's going to be the answer going to Rabbi Akiva. Okay? And we'll look at the Rashbam that's going to agree with that. But just what we just said, what do you think Rabbi Eliezer is kind of focused? What's he laser pointing on?
I don't know. No, just
To be thankful.
Hmm?
To be thankful.
Clouds. Which is natural, which is miraculous. Yes, yes.
That's why, like, I think Rabbi Akiva, he's not more on faith, he's more on the physical, and Rabbi Eliezer is more on the spiritual.
Very
And
nice.
like, these are they
Okay, you're getting there. It seems like Rabbi Akiva is going on the physical aspect of it, which shows our faith, right? Hashem took care of us physically. And Rabbi Eliezer seems to be looking at the miraculous, the spiritual, like you put it, right? This is miraculous. This is more like from Hashem, yeah? This is, wow! Like, you know what happened? Hashem put out these clouds, little spaceships, you know? And he covered over the Jewish people and said, oh, stay inside here. That's what you got to think about. You got to think about the great miraculous aspect. What's that going to lead to? What? Also faith. Right? I have faith in Hashem. I think about it, wow, it's miraculous. I have faith Hashem did it for them, he can do it for us too. My emunah builds. Right? I have more emunah. But I'm looking at it, I got through a different kind of way, didn't I? Can you see it's a different way to get there? Clouds miraculous. I just built a tent. I've got peg I stuck in. Took a thing on. Hashem took care of us. But this went through the physical. Is that fair to say? Yeah, are you with me? I'm just thinking. I'm not reading. I'm just thinking. Yeah.
Okay. Isn't it like, so Hashem took care of us in the desert, and He took care of us by the clouds, like by putting the clouds of glory. So it's actually like they relate to each other. So it's the same.
They do, but they are. But you know what? You're right. They lived in huts and tent, and the clouds of glory. But what Rabbi Eliezer is saying, this is important. He's saying, you know why you keep Sukkot? This is what you're talking about. This is the bit you're going to focus on. In the end, we're going to live in the same Sukkah, and we're going to fulfill the same. But how do we get there? How do we end up sitting in this hut for 7 days, right, every year for the rest of the Jewish people's lives? I'll tell you why. I got this. Anei kavod. Okay, but no. It's all other huts. Well, they're saying, I'll tell you why. Rabbi Akiva's talking about faith. We left Mitzrayim. And Rabbi Eliezer is like, no, it's all about the clouds. The clouds are going to do it. We're going to double click Rabbi Eliezer next class. I just want to finish off Rabbi Akiva. Look at the Rashbam inside. And we'll close Rabbi Akiva. So we're going to have Rabbi Akiva, and you're going to have it in your minds, and we're going to own it. Okay? So, Pshuto, Kedivra Omrim B'Maseket Sukkah, Sukkah Mamish. So, Rabbi Akiva, there's code words over here. They refer to this opinion as Sukkah Mamish. Actual Sukkah. Right? Sukkah Mamish. Actual. So Sukkah Mamish means an actual hut. So when you see the word Sukkah Mamish, it's referring to actual huts. They lived in actual huts. So we live in actual huts. That's Rabbi Akiva's opinion. You with me, sisters? Marvelous. Sukkah Mamish. This is the reason. This is the reason, said the Rashbam. This is the Rashbam now. Chag HaSukkot taseh lecha. You should make yourself a sukkah where you gather in your produce that we have to visit. Okay, the gathering in produce seems to be related to the gathering in of the livestock of Yaakov. Don't go anywhere, we're going to fish his piece off. But when you gather in your produce, ooh, now he's saying something else over here. He's saying, you know what? Follow this. He's now going to connect. Please listen very carefully. Please, this is the punchline. You've got to follow this. He's like, the Rashbam was like, let's do something interesting over here. Let us connect together this opinion of why we sit in Sukkot, which is the Rabbi Akiva opinion, the Sukkot Mamish opinion. We're going to connect this opinion with all the way to the gathering in your produce. Because that's what the Torah says. He says, live in a sukkah. Why? I'm going to go to Rabbi Akiva, because we lived in huts. And we're going to connect it to the gathering of produce. What's that doing over there? Says the Rashbam. This is quite clever. I'll tell you why. Because at this time of year, people are getting rich. People are getting rich. Why? Because they've sowed their plants earlier in the year. In the summer, everything came up and ripened. At the end of the summer, agriculturally, they cut it all down. We now have something to eat, right? The farmers are selling their stuff, right? We're all buying it, right? And we're bringing all of this food into our homes to last us through the winter months. That's the way it was. It's hard for us to appreciate this because we have stuff the entire year. But just go with this historical version anyway, although it's going to apply to us in different ways. So it's like, you know what you like at this time of year? This time of year, you're loaded. Your grain house is full of money. Sounds like Yaakov a little bit, right? Your grain house is full of money. It's full of stock, stuff you need to have. How do you feel when that happens? You feel happy. You feel secure. Nice. You feel happy. Hoo-hoo! I got $1 million in the bank. It's going to have to last me, by the way. That's the problem when you win the lottery. But I feel secure. When people feel secure, what do they usually forget? Hashem. Right? They forget Hashem. It's like, oh, I don't need Hashem. I'm going to pray to Him. I'm loaded. I got all I need. I got so much money, right? I don't need Hashem. And what else do people naturally do when they become full of themselves? They think, look at me, I got so much money. I'm just like, oh wow, I'm flush with cash. And they think, mistakenly, that they themselves made this money. When do people feel this? This time of year. End of summer, right? Fall time, before winter, when we're gathering the produce. It's dried up nicely over the summer and we're picking it up. That's why it says. At the time when you gather in your produce, or and your houses are full, kol tuv dagan v'tirush v'yitzar, of all the lovely grains and all the grapes and all the oils, right? Because that's pretty much all they used to have in those days, right? Leman tizkru, you have to remember, ki b'sukkot hashaftis b'nei Yisrael, that the Jewish people lived in Sukkot. B'midbar arbim shana below yeshuv below nachala, without any place to live and without anything. Remember that. Umetoch kach, here's the punchline. Follow inside. We'll finish with this, I promise. Page 49. Second paragraph. Ubetoch kach, and because of this, titnu hoda'ah, you've got to give hoda'ah. Thanks. You got to give thanks. Lemi, to the one, shenatan lachem nachal, who gave you this inheritance, who gave you this lovely produce. Ubotechem eleim kol tov, that gave you this entire house. The al tomu b'avavchem, so that you don't say in your heart, you don't think to yourself, kochi v'otzem yadi asali et hachayil hazeh. It's because of me that I became successful. Don't think that. You became successful because Hashem gave you success the entire year. When should you think that? You've got to remember that when your houses are full. When your houses are not full, you're not going to think that. Right? Because all you're doing is hoping for stuff. But when people start having stuff, they start to be like, whoa, I got lots of money. Okay. We're going to stop over there. We're stopping near the end. We're not actually there. We're going to pull this together next class. And we're going to review for the midterm next class as well. Good job. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, in order for you to start studying, or you just studying the book?
I thought I on Wednesday when you go through the detail of stuff you need.
Yeah, because there's some things that I don't.
The book and a locus, and a locus is what you need for a shunning.
But is it every single page until like the PA that I have to know? Like
That's going to be it. I mean,
some
that's
pages
going
that we don't.
well, I'll go through it. That's what Wednesday goes through. And now just reading through it's going to help you.
I have a friend that's kind of a just like sit in like a.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just bring her in. Take care. Have a good day. Bavakasha. Okay, you followed today? We did a lot today. Is it followed? But it's a lot of stuff.
The connections. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it came together more to end for me. Personally.
Yeah, that's when it comes together. But I want to. There's other parts, so we're going to gather all together next class. Excuse the pun. You like that, right?